All right, let's dive straight into this explainer and honestly, completely reframe how we view aging. We're going to look at the fascinating science of how to recalibrate the body so we can maintain our physical independence well past age 70. Really, it's all about exploring these actionable, evidence-based strategies that put us firmly in the driver's seat of our own health. So, is physical decline actually inevitable? We so often just assume that aging automatically means fragility, right? Like a slowdown, a loss of capability. But the data reveals that's a complete myth. Your body is incredibly adaptable, literally, no matter how many candles are on your birthday cake. We actually have a profound choice in front of us here. We can accept what's called passive aging, basically just sitting back and letting physical decline happen to us. Or we can choose active training. And this is about recalibrating the body to maintain its function. It's about using a very specific daily toolkit to actively train, adapt, and really protect your physical independence. All right, moving right along to section 1, rewiring balance and reaction time. When we think about physical decline, we usually think of our muscles first, right? But your brain and your nervous system actually need training just as much. As we age, our internal hardware naturally changes. The inner ear sensors that manage our balance, well, they begin to degrade, which can lead to those weird feelings of dizziness or instability. And on top of that, the nerve signals communicating between our brain and our limbs start to travel slower. It's honestly like the body's internet connection just dropped a few bars. But hey, we can actively fight back. A major key here is focusing on a concept called proprioception. Proprioception is essentially your brain's internal map. It's this built-in awareness of exactly where your limbs are in space without you having to actually look at them. This map is what keeps you moving safely and confidently, so you aren't constantly staring down at your feet to see where you're stepping. And you can actually recalibrate this internal map visually and physically using two incredibly simple exercises that sharpen up that spatial awareness. First up is the blind reach. Just close your eyes and attempt to touch a specific object, like a doorknob or a light switch. I know, it sounds ridiculously easy until you end up poking the drywall 3 times. But it rapidly trains that spatial map. Second is heel-to-toe walking. Walk across the room, placing one foot directly in front of the other, kind of like a tightrope walker, for 10 steps forward and 10 steps backward. Now, what about that degrading inner ear we talked about earlier? Well, here's a super simple daily hack. Every single morning while you're brushing your teeth, practice the single leg stand. Literally, just stand on one foot for 10 to 30 seconds per leg. This is brilliant because it forces your brain to immediately recalibrate its balance signals while you're, entirely distracted by brushing your teeth. And to speed up those slower nerve signals, you really want to focus on your processing speed. Amazingly, you can sharpen your reaction time just by playing reaction-based games right on your smartphone. It's a surprisingly valid neurological health strategy. Another fantastic method is catch drills. Just have someone toss a soft object, like a softball or a rolled-up pair of socks, to you unexpectedly. Or even practice catching a ball against a wall. These fun, unpredictable little coordination drills train your nervous system to stay incredibly sharp. Okay, let's jump to section 2, building muscle and stronger bones. This is an absolutely staggering fact. Muscle mass can drop by up to 30% by the time we hit age 80. 30%! That is a massive loss of the exact tissue that powers our daily movements, helps us lift the groceries, and literally gets us up out of a chair. So, this process of age-related muscle loss is called sarcopenia. I know, it sounds super intimidating, but the great news here, and honestly, the truly empowering takeaway, is that your muscles are eager to respond to stress and rebuild no matter your age. The biological mechanism for building strength absolutely does not disappear at age 70. It just needs to be activated. You can directly combat sarcopenia with just 2 simple approaches. First, 15 minutes of daily resistance training. And no, you don't need a massive, expensive gym membership. Just use some resistance bands or light weights, focusing on your arms, legs, and your core. Second, practice functional movement. Focus on exercises that mimic daily life, like standing up from a chair without using your hands to push off. This directly translates your workout into real-world independence. But as it turns out, muscle is really only half of the physical equation, because alongside muscle loss, we also have to fortify against osteoporosis. This condition makes bones porous and fragile, which effectively turns what used to be a minor trip or stumble into a highly dangerous, life-altering fracture. So how exactly do we strengthen that bone density? Well, here's what you need to know. Simple walking is often not quite enough. You actually need weight-bearing exercises that incorporate light impact, think jogging or jumping jacks, to send the necessary signal to your body to build stronger bone. And you've got to pair that physical signal with proper nutrition, ensuring adequate intake of calcium and vitamin D, especially since most seniors are remarkably deficient in both. Moving into Section 3, overcoming the fear of falling. We've talked a lot about the brain and the body, but there's this crucial mental hurdle that often goes completely unaddressed. Ironically enough, the psychological fear of falling is actually one of your biggest physical enemies. When we're afraid of falling, that fear causes the body to move with a really rigid, tense stiffness. And moving rigidly actively increases your physical risk of taking a spill, simply because you lose your natural fluidity. When we're fearful, we often adopt what's known as a shuffling gait. We barely lift our feet off the ground, which results in rigid movement and puts us in a highly vulnerable state. Contrast that with a fluid, natural gait. When we move naturally and fluidly, it allows the body to seamlessly and instinctively adjust if we slip or misstep, which effectively prevents a fall before it even happens. Now, to transition away from that shuffling gait and regain your confidence safely, you simply need to practice. Try walking on slightly uneven surfaces like grass or maybe a textured path, but definitely make sure to do it with someone nearby for safety. By doing this, your body remembers how to adapt, and you rebuild that absolutely critical mental trust in your own 2 feet. And finally, Section 4, your 5-minute daily routine. So, we've covered the inner ear, reaction times, muscles, bones, and the psychology of it all. You might be sitting there wondering exactly how much of your day you need to dedicate to consolidating all this into a routine to protect your independence. Honestly, it sounds like a ton of work to fight off passive aging, right? Well, the amazing answer is just 5 minutes total. That's it. Just 5 focused minutes of your day to dramatically alter the trajectory of your physical health. Seriously, no way it gets easier than that. Here is your daily independence routine. And listen, you don't have to do everything we discussed every single day. Just pick 3. The single leg stand while brushing your teeth, the heels to toe tightrope walk, and a brief session of resistance training. Performing just 3 of these chosen exercises daily is more than enough to maintain your physical independence. By taking just 5 minutes a day to actively recalibrate your brain, your nervous system, your muscles, and your bones, you are flat out refusing to accept decline as inevitable. You're choosing vitality. So, the only question left for you is this: how are you going to spend your active, independent years?